minimal minutes.
All right, Coach, whenever you're ready, your thoughts on tonight's performance and the result in the end.
Not good enough tonight in both the performance and the result. I think, as a staff and our players knew how important this game was. Trying to get, close to that playoff line. And obviously we're running out of home games and games in general. And Pittsburgh comes in here. Obviously they're always going to be a tough team to play, but not in the greatest run of form. Could we have, utilized last week's result to kind of springboard 2 games in a row with wins and kind of get into that mindset. So result is just extremely disappointing. And from a performance, I just think that we didn't do what we set out to do today. We wanted to play on the front foot. We knew that, the circumstances of a 1:00 game is the field's going to be a little drier. It's going to be harder to play through in the middle. They're a team that likes to high press and be involved in those areas. They want everything in front of them if they can. So, our intent was in the first half to really, yes, make them come and high press us, but also be able to play balls a little bit more direct and kind of change the momentum of the game, where we wanted, what we talked about was forward momentum, always balls forward, runs forward, facing forward as much as we can. We don't want to be playing backwards and into their press. And I just didn't think that we did that. It didn't look like we tried to do that in the first half. We played a lot into what they like to do, which is keep the ball in front and run at you and try and turn you over and continuously trying to, get opportunities off of that pressing system that they have. And I just don't think that we played in the way that we wanted to play. And obviously it doesn't help when you give up a goal early off of, a pretty simple cross. They get on the end of it first, a rebound and that kind of stuff can't happen. And obviously, again, on a moment where they're high pressing and we're kind of slow in what we want to do and not all on the same page, lose the ball and then commit a penalty. So tough to come back from a 2-0 result in this league. We haven't shown the ability to do so since I've been here, to come back from, multiple goals and I think even one. So it puts us in a really difficult situation there to work our way out. Second half, we did what we should have done in the first half, which is play a little bit more direct and make them run more backwards towards their goal. And what happened, I think, halfway through the second half is the middle of the field started to open up. And so we didn't utilize it as much because we didn't have the opportunity to kind of coach it at a halftime, which is what I would have loved to been able to do. But the game started opening up a little bit more in the second half, and we had a little bit more of the game. I wouldn't say it was great, but they defended well. They also changed the way they play with a 2-0 lead. But we lost the game in the first half, arguably maybe in the first few minutes of the first half.
Yeah, but a little longer break than usual. Just what was your, what can you tell us about your message to the team after this?
Look, I told them at halftime it was not as nice of a message. After the game, I asked them, kind of the points that I just talked about here. What did that second half look like in terms of the space? Did we have more or less space in the midfield in the second half? And we had more space. And I asked them, why do you think that is? Well, because we played the ball in behind and they were aware of that potential, and that brought their back line further back, and their midfielders need to also understand that, they got to double down on any ball that goes over their head. So inevitably you start opening up the middle of the field. And so, the message was we have to, I told them that I don't question the effort that they put in. I think that, they give everything. They work hard for the team, for their teammates, for the jersey, for the fans, but I don't think we did it in an intelligent way. And we didn't start the game with the way that we want to play. I've always said this, right? The coach can have the worst tactical decision ever. But if everybody does that same terrible tactical decision together, 11 players, that's still better than if 11 players have different ideas. And so that is just a point to say that if we have an idea of what we want to do in the beginning of the game, but we don't all do it, you're going to be working for nothing, right? One guy's pressing, one guy's dropping. Now that guy's running for no reason because there's a pass easily in behind, right? One guy's running in behind and the ball's coming underneath. And there's so many different, scenarios that you can point out to that. But at the end of the day, if you're not all on the same page, which I didn't think we were in the first half, we didn't all do the same thing together. And obviously that at the end of the day falls on my shoulders. But I got to be, I guess, clear with the messages that I deliver. I think in the second half we were able to do it. In the first, we didn't do it so much. And that was kind of my question to them and my message to them after the game.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Knowing Pittsburgh is a tough team to play, what was this week's message and what was your points of emphasis coming in today?
Yeah, I mean, the things that I've been talking about, right? Forward momentum was one of the general principles, the major points, which to me, the way that I described it to the guys is what we don't want to do is play into their strengths. Do you know what their strengths are?
Me personally, I do not.
No. Does anybody in here know what their strengths are? Pittsburgh?
Defense,
Pressing.
Organization.
So
sitting deep, yeah.
So I think that what you don't want to do against teams like that, because I agree with all those points, is you don't want to play into their pressure, right? If you're going to play the ball through the middle to somebody that's facing backwards, if we're going in that direction, and you're playing me a pass and I'm running in this direction, Pittsburgh and their coach is going to be like, great, that's what we want. Because what we want is to be able to go press somebody that's facing away from our goal, right? And so we wanted to minimize that. We want to be able to, if you're going to play me a ball, I got to be facing forward. Right? If I'm facing backwards, then somebody else is running in behind, right? If I'm the 10, then our outside backs need to be running in behind so that you can play that ball in behind, and now they can be facing their goal. And we can be forward momentum, to be able to win, whether it's the direct ball, a repressing moment, the second ball, etc. Right? We want to try and play in their end. And again, that message was I thought pretty loud and clear, but maybe because we gave up a goal so early, now we start trying to play more than we should, and we get caught with the second goal as well. But that was one of the biggest messages that we had for our group is this is what they're good at, organized, high-pressing team. Let's make sure that we don't play into that. We let them come, and we play in behind with forward runs and whatnot. We just didn't do that in the first half.
So with the Coliseum this season, the Roots have one of the worst home records. Is there any way to explain that, or is it just you think people are coming into such a historic stadium and this is kind of a game they circle of, well, I want to play really good here, or is it just kind of happenstance that's just how things have fallen this year? I
have guesses. I don't think I'm factual with any of my guesses. I do think that we are a team that is better when we are committed to our defensive duties first. When we are committed to our defensive duties first, we tend to find our footing in the game. And we have enough quality going forward when the other team inevitably has to push at home, right, for their home games.
Yeah.
Whereas when we're playing at home, I think inevitably in most any leagues, you have a little bit more of that mindset of being the driver, the enforcer of the game.
Yeah.
And I think within those moments, we falter a little bit in our defensive duties. And so that's a guess. I don't know if that's what happens or not, but I have noticed that even in my short time here so far, we have looked, not every game. I would say that some of our best games were at home. I mean, I go back to, even games that we lost. I mean, the Monterey Bay game, 2-1 that we won was very, very good. The Phoenix game that we lost at home, I thought we played really well that game. Second half of the El Paso, I mean, we're talking about games like 2-3 months ago, right? Trying to think of some of the away games. You look at some of our wins away, right? Loudon, Birmingham. We defended really well. Even those games that we played well at home, we didn't defend as well. We didn't defend as well in Monterey. We didn't defend as well against Phoenix. The only game that I truly remember us defending well at home, having that mindset, was Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit, I thought we defended well. We really gave up very little that game, right? And took our chances. But that kind of felt more like an away performance for whatever reason. And so I do think that there is this inevitable mindset from teams in I think most teams in the USL, not every single team, and most teams in MLS, that you're the driving force in home games and you're a little bit more reactive in away games. And I think we tend to be a better team that's reactive. Of course, when you're chasing a playoff spot and you're playing at home, you're just not going to play reactive at home, right? And I think that doesn't always bode well for us when we're at home. But again, I guess.
Yeah, Michael, go.
It seems like it's difficult for the club to, it's always like they're taking one step forward, one step backward. Inconsistency in play. What's going on there? And is that something that you think about and are trying to fix?
Look, I don't think we've been inconsistent since I've gotten here, other than these last two games have not been up to par to what we've done. I know we beat Monterey Bay. I've watched the Lexington game like 4 or 5 times over. I don't think that game was nearly as negative as a lot of people felt. I think that was an emotional thought process a little bit where I thought we defended pretty well that game, right? One of the top, I mean, I think they're a very good team. They have some really good players up front, and we really didn't give up too many chances. Obviously, emotionally, it sucks when you give up 2 goals in the last 10 minutes. But that performance, I think, like I said about Monterey, professional way to win the game 1-0 this last game. I think that would have been a very professional game to win 1-0 as well, even if we didn't have great chances. And I think people also forget that there was moments in that game where we could have made it 2, right? I remember the Danny Trejo opportunity that he tried to slip into Peter if he tries to shoot that and take a 2-0 lead, right? So I do think that these last 2 games have been a grind. I can't give you an answer as to why. I mean, I know that emotionally you feel it, right? When you give up a game like Lexington, you come in and your expectation is, oh, we're going to, play Monterey Bay at home, a team that we've already beat and they're struggling and whatever. And we started off okay and got the goal, but then afterwards it just didn't look like, ourselves anymore. And then obviously this game where you're playing a team that's, difficult to play against. They're very organized. We're playing, a midday game. So a lot of the things that I think we've done well over the course of the last 10 games are the passing through the back and being able to slip balls through the middle and open teams up by receiving balls into our 10s with our wing backs going. It's just not a game that's conducive for that, right? And so that with the mentality of the team drains a little bit with, a negative result in Lexington. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to say that, Peter's a big reason for our success recently. He's not here. Obviously, Danny Trejo, who we brought in, hasn't been able to really play yet. So our attacking pieces are just, 1, not there, and 2, the guys that we've had to play haven't played as much, right? So Wolfie hasn't played at all as a 9 since I've been here, right? And so it's difficult for the expectation to be like, go over there and do the same thing that Peter's been doing, right? And so, look, it's not easy. It's not perfect, but I just think that football is just, there's so many little things, right? You can't just say, oh, well, this is why, right? It's because of mentality, or it's because of, we're playing at home, or it's because it's an afternoon game, or it's because we're missing a guy. I just think it's a lot of different little things that influence the consistency of the team. And I think that we're seeing that a little bit right now, which doesn't come in a good time.
2 more. There you go, Sean.
And Ben, when we first met, you talked about installing your system. You wanted fans to see there's a clear identity. Just, I think there's been flashes of that, but also some inconsistent moments. What are your thoughts on what's being picked up and what needs to improve?
I agree with you. I think there have been flashes. I think there's been inconsistencies. One of the things that we really had to focus on early on in the first couple of weeks I was here, but then didn't have to as much pretty quickly, was the defensive posture of the team. I thought we kind of almost naturally picked that up pretty quickly. I think that's kind of fallen. And the reason why, to me, is not extremely evident, right? I think that every game we're giving up goals in different ways, right? I mean, obviously, this is the first penalty kick that we've given up, right? It's a moment. I don't think that there's been a moment where we've lost a ball the way that we lost in that moment and now given up a penalty. So now it's the quality of how we're progressing the ball up the field. The other one was a cross, right? And I remember the beginning of the time that I was here, a lot of the chances that we gave up were off shots outside the box. So then we work on those things, right? And then we fix those things. I'm trying to remember the last game against Lexington, the goals. I don't know if it actually has anything to do with it, but one of the things that we talked about in this game that we wanted to make sure we did was, yes, we wanted to high press them a little bit, but not overextend ourselves in the back. We wanted to make sure our defensive unit is good when our three stay together, right? Kai and Hack and even Gagi have moments where they can step into that midfield, but it's when the ball comes as opposed to like cheating into that zone, right? So defensively, I think that there's been inconsistencies there. From the perspective of how we want to build out, I think teams have adjusted as well, right? I think that they realize that we want to have our three and our midfield two kind of connecting passes and finally opening up balls through the middle of the field to our 10s or potentially to our wing backs. They've done a better job of trying to minimize that. I still think that there's opportunities there that we're not seeing because at the end of the day, this is what I tell the team every time. The field is enormous. 11v11, if you utilize the space the way that you should never lose the ball other than in a moment where you technically make a mistake, right? The ball bobbles off your foot or whatever. The field is enormous. And there's a reason why it gets harder when you get closer to the goal, because they have more numbers there and now there's less space. But if you really want to open up the game, the entire field, you should be able to keep the ball. And so there's always someone open there, no matter how many guys that they send to press, you could always have another player. And so I just think that part of it hasn't necessarily continued to evolve with other teams giving, different ideas to us. And so, look, that's my job, right? That's my job to make sure that the guys can continue to evolve. But I also think that there's always going to be difficulties in trying to, build off of what you saw from last week and now what do we do this week? And, we haven't scored goals, so let's work on the scoring goals. And now, we're not building out right. So it's a constant pendulum. And of course, this is not an excuse. It's just a fact. When you come in through the middle of the year, you're trying to earn the results. But also, like you said, my goal would ultimately be this is the style of play that we want to have, right? That I don't think has ever changed. I mean, unless you give me a team that I look at and I'm like, there's no way that we can pass. We don't have good enough players to pass, and we have to play defensive-minded and counterattack. I'm always going to be the kind of coach that wants to have the ball, wants to create through possession, wants to find the mistake that the other team's going to make and kind of, keep applying pressure in that way. And so that I think that is, what you're seeing. But again, you're not seeing it at a high level week in and week out. I think, like you said, you're going to see flashes. You're going to see deficiencies as well.
Yeah, last one.
Yeah, I want to go back to the defensive footing that you said the club plays well. As a coach, you can put in the game plans, you can do everything to get the team ready for this week's performance. But who is that one player that you pretty much can lean on the field, on the pitch, that can get everybody into position defensively?
I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd say Hack is probably the guy that can most offer that. I think when Tyler's in there as well, he's a guy that can give that kind of organization from a coach on the field perspective kind of thing. But look, I played. You can't just have one guy. And I don't think we have enough guys. I really don't. I don't think enough guys either know what to say or feel confident enough to say it. Right. And this game, for as much as I want to say, I can make a difference with my ideas, the way that I coach, the way that I tactically, analyze the other team and get our team prepared. Soccer is always going to be a player's game. Always. It is not football, where football players are robots and they're told run 10 yards, cut to the right, right? Soccer players are a fluid game. And at the end of the day, you need guys out there that, yes, are are intelligent enough to understand the message that the coaches are giving them, but then have the confidence to talk to the players around them and put them in the right spots and talk their way through a game, right? Coach their way through a game. And so, I think that we have a few of those guys, but I don't know if there's enough guys on the team that feel confident enough in their voice to really apply what you're asking. And I think that's an important thing. I really do. And we try and cultivate that. But it's another difficult, I think, job of the coaching staff to try and make sure that players can kind of find their voice, find their confidence, and be able to apply that kind of organization and leadership on the field.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. I'll be back with Wolf.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Wolf.
How you doing, sir?
Good to see you.
All right, Wolf, if you want to just start by your overall thoughts on tonight's result and performance of the team.
I mean, I thought it was a unfortunate result. I thought we kind of started off on the back foot, and I think we just kind of had our own mistakes. I think that's how they just got the 2 goals. They kind of just punished for us for our own mistakes, and we tried to turn it around in the second half, but it just wasn't quite enough on the day.
Yeah, Sean, you want to start it off?
Yeah, Wolf, is still 6 points back, still in striking distance, but it felt like really a must-win game. Just what can you tell us about how the locker room's processing this and, just the mentality right now and going forward?
I mean, I think it was frustrating because we wanted to win, but I think we have a game plan just to keep going. At the end of the day, we still have quite a few games left to turn it around. I wouldn't say that we're done by any means. I think there's still a lot of games to give and a lot of effort to give still. So I think we just got to just keep looking forward. I think the boys are frustrated, but I think we'll be able to turn it around.
Daniel?
Yeah, with Peter out tonight, you were back up top for the first time in the Benny era. How does it feel to be able to be useful in so many different spots, and where do you kind of see yourself as a position wise right now? Or is it just kind of whatever the team needs?
I think it's just at a point wherever the team needs me. I mean, I'm a offensive player, so I mean, I try to put myself in offensive positions where I can try and be as dangerous as possible. So I'm still just kind of like feeling like the role player, just trying to fit in multiple spots. Obviously, I wouldn't say I'm per se just a striker as my dominant position, but I mean, I'm doing the best that I can to adjust and try to help out my team and do the best that I can.
This is the first full season you've had with the club. Who do you look for leadership? And in a game like this, it's, kind of a traumatic way to lose. Who do you talk to and confide in?
I mean, I think I really try to talk to just everyone. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a team sport. I think it's important just to have multiple leaders on the team. Obviously we have our per se captain, but I think everyone is important and everyone has to pick each other up.
And what kind of advice do you get from them?
I would say just usually just don't worry about it. I mean, we know you're a good player, and you just gotta just think about the next game and just do what you can the next game.
Coach talked to us, just to jump off of his question. Coach talked to us about he wants to find players who have more confidence in their voice. He says that, there are some leaders in the locker room, but not everybody has the confidence to use their voice. Just how do you reflect on that? And, just what are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I think he probably makes a point. I mean, I think there are some people that probably stand out as the more leadership types of characters. I mean, there's probably more people that could probably speak out more and probably give more of their opinions more if they want to. Yeah.
Yeah, Marcus?
Yeah, how do you like playing for Coach?
I mean, I think he's a good coach. I mean, I think he has his certain set of ideals of what he wants to do, of the structure. I mean, I think structurally, I think we can be good sometimes. I think sometimes we are still kind of looking for like what that right kind of combination is to have all the pieces kind of come together. I think sometimes we have games where some pieces come together, we get good results, and sometimes when one of those pieces don't work, then sometimes I think we suffer and we get not the results going our way. But I think it's been good. I think the club is going in a right direction. I think we have a certain way of playing that we think is good, and I think just some certain kinks of maybe just adjusting to the opponent, of maybe certain formations for certain games. I mean, obviously I'm not the coach, but just different ideas, in case some certain pieces are missing and we have to adjust to the opponent sometimes.
Two more? Sean?
We also talked to Benny about the system. There's been some flashes, also some inconsistent points. Just over the last few matches, just some seldom offensive chances. Just what do you think needs to change, and what do you think needs to improve on with this system as it's building over the months here?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes we just need a lot more attackers going forward. I mean, sometimes we ask a lot of our wingbacks to go high and to cover a lot of ground. I know sometimes we just have our two kind of interior 10s playing. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes the vertical play is more important. But I guess just finding that balance of the vertical play that make the opponents come back, and then also the good pocket play that we've gotten good results from in the past also.
Dan, bring it home.
So I believe in your guys' last games, you only play one team in Las Vegas who is out of the playoffs. Is that something where you want to be playing against playoff teams, so if you guys can make it to the playoffs, this is the level of competition you're used to? Or would you have rather played some teams that maybe are a little bit easier on the schedule to kind of get some points and guarantee you get into the playoffs? Or does the challenge of playing against Charleston and Tulsa and then El Paso, does that kind of excite you guys to reach that level? Or how does it feel for you guys?
I mean, personally for me, I mean, I don't know what my other teammates think, but I mean, I always like to verse top opponents. I mean, that's why I want to play in the USL champ, because I played a lot of seasons in USL 1, just striving to want to play at the highest level. And I mean, I'm continuing to do that even at USL championship, to try and find a level higher. So, I mean, I always love playing against good opponents, whether they're in playoffs or not.
Perfect. Thank you.